doing this markup on this important bipartisan legislation on various topics within the jurisdiction of our committee. You and the staff have worked collaboratively with us in putting together these bills, and we appreciate the bipartisanship. The markup is a good example of what we can do when we work together on a bipartisan basis to develop good policy. In fact, I'm a firm believer that some of our best work takes place when we come together. But I also would use the moment as a reminder. Just think what would have happened had we actually had witnesses and hearings on the tax bill. There would have been an opportunity to create, I think, legislation that we would not be compelled to revisit regularly now during the next year or more. But this morning, we will start with a number of bills which would, among other things, strengthen and modernize the IRS, improve taxpayer services, and protect Americans from identity theft. These bills are sponsored by a number of members from our committee, but I do want to single out and applaud the Oversight Chair and Ranking Member Lynn Jenkins and John Lewis, who did hold hearings and met with witnesses to solicit testimony, and they are the principal architects of the IRS redesign package. There are many important reforms in all 9 of the IRS redesign bills we're acting on today, but I'm particularly pleased with the many provisions that would help low and moderate income taxpayers. For example, an important reform we'll be voting on today is to codify the existing free file program under which the IRS partners with the tax preparation community to offer free online tax filings to people whose income fall in the bottom 70%. I'm a longtime champion of the free file program, along with my colleague Ron Kind and others, so I'm pleased that it's in today's package. Another important reform is codifying the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, under which the IRS partners with nonprofit and community groups to offer income tax assistance to people with low incomes, limited English skills, or other barriers to tax compliance. I certainly encourage our colleagues to support all of these important IRS design bills. We will then proceed to the Moving Americans Privacy Protection Act, which is a common sense piece of legislation sponsored by Representative Bill Pascrell and Jeff Denham. This bill would strengthen the system used by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol to protect the personally identifiable information of individuals who are moving internationally. I'd like to applaud the leadership of the Trade Subcommittee Ranking Member Pascrell on this legislation and urge my colleagues certainly to support this legislation. We'll conclude today with 2 bipartisan bills relating to identity theft and the misuse of Social Security numbers. The Social Security Child Protection Act, introduced by Representatives Doggett and Marchant, would protect children in cases where their Social Security card is stolen from the mail. Stolen SSNs can be used to commit identity fraud, and such fraud can become quite extensive before the child's family even becomes aware of the problem. Under the bill, SSA would issue a child a new SSN if their card is stolen from the mail. The other bill before the committee, the Protecting Children from Identity Theft Act, is intended to address a growing form of identity fraud, that involving so-called synthetic identity theft. This legislation would allow financial service companies, if they have consent from their customer, to verify the customer's name and SSN with SSA in order to help prevent identity theft. So I'm pleased, Mr. Chairman, that we were able to work together on the basis of strengthening this legislation in 2 key ways. First, we included provisions to ensure that the verification system would be secure and not subject to misuse. And second, we included provisions to make sure the users of the verification system would pay the full cost of it and not detract from SSA's ability to fulfill its primary mission of running the Social Security program. I urge our colleagues today again to support these 2 important pieces of legislation, and we look forward to a productive day. Thank you, Mr.